The director was terribly ambitious, and
Or just terrible, it sounds like.
and the scriptwriters were there to either indulge him or they were indulging themselves.
You're listening to The Juniper and Elle Show, where two friends chat dramas, movies, and whatever else we're checking out at the moment. Grab a tea or other beverage of choice and come hang out with us as we chat, laugh, and occasionally make sense.
Hi, this is Juniper.
Hello, this is Elle.
Welcome to our pod. Today, we're going to talk about 3 Chinese dramas that we recently either started, finished, or dropped. There's your theme for the day. One of which we had previously talked about. Elle, I think you said you heavily caffeinated yourself last night just so you can get through the end of Overdo, the Zhang Linghe, Wang Churan drama, which we had talked about in a very previous pod. At that time, you had only gotten through episode 5, and I had dropped it after 4 episodes. We did pinky swear at the time saying that if you do finish, you're going to come back and share your thoughts. So lo and behold, the sacrifices you have made to get to this point today. So you'll kick us off with that, and then we'll talk about 2 other dramas that we hadn't previously checked out. One is a newer costume drama that's called Royal Betrothal. Yu Tingyao, I think, is the Chinese name, with Wu Jingyan and Chen Zheyan. That one we did not finish. In fact, you barely started. And then, and then there's another show that I accidentally watched, which I managed to finish, surprise to myself even, which is called The Shadow Sovereign. And it stars some familiar faces, at least to me. I don't know if you're as familiar. It is Li Hongyi and Kong Xuer, or Snow Kong, who we all know from her support turn in Pursuit of Jade.
Yep.
So that one, you checked out a few episodes too. We'll just end the discussion today on that one. But first, without further ado, Overdo, the wrap-up.
Oh, God. All right, I'll try not to spend too much time. I watched all 33 episodes. There was no prologue.
Yay!
I mean, epilogue. There was no epilogue or bonus material.
Thank God.
I know. I mean, I don't know if it would have helped at all, to be honest.
It did not get better, it sounds like.
It only got crazier. It did not get better. And I'll talk about why. I also read the novel that it was adapted from. So I'm going to start there very quickly, very briefly. And well, just because I think the comparison matters, which is that the novel was really only about the 2 main characters. And there was no revenge storyline. There was no political intrigue. It was just a straightforward miscommunication type of story where they claim to love each other, but they're 2 people who don't know how to love and don't know how to communicate. And thematically, this author, I think, is known for that. She did the same thing in the novel for Goodbye, My Princess. I would say after watching all 33 episodes, they kept the main character names, and then that's about it. Everything else is completely different. Like, the backstories are different, the motivations, their actions.
So why bother?
Yeah, so I would say that the way I think about Overdo the drama is that it started as like an idol drama, and then it became a family drama, and then revenge drama, and then some espionage, and then ending with political intrigue. I mean, those are literally the genres that it went through when you're watching it chronologically.
So it's like, I gotta hit all of them.
Yes, the director was terribly ambitious, and
Or just terrible, it sounds like.
and the scriptwriters were there to either indulge him or they were indulging themselves, because I swear they tore apart the novel that they got the rights for and just reverse engineered everything to fit. So I would say that sort of the endings for like some of the characters are the same, like spoilers. The eldest brother, he is dead in the novel. There were some like side stories that talk about him and him falling in love with another girl who works at the aviation school. So they fleshed that out in the drama. And then I actually think in the drama they were the sweetest couple. Like, I think a lot of people who watched it also loved the brother with the pilot, the female pilot. So they were like the most normal couple. And then the main leads, it just I feel like in the novel, it made sense where this like they always kind of miss each other, like the miscommunication, misunderstandings. It's like it's done well in a novel, and I think if it was like a feature film length and you just film these two people, it would have made for an interesting character study as a story. But the problem here is I don't know why they chose to do the political intrigue stuff with these particular characters. And so once you do that, like the whole like the way she's so cold to him and then he's so obviously in love with her and you're like why is he so in love with her? And I remember we talked about episode 2, which is where they show the meet cute of how they met through letter writing, which did not exist in the novel. I thought that
Yes,
was
you love that.
I love that. I'm
You
a
love
sucker for
that.
that. Yes. I love that. I thought that was cute. And that was it. Okay, there were 2 cute moments in the drama. That part and then later on, which is like so stupid, but he says, you know, you have to promise me one thing and she's like as long as it's not harming someone, I'll do it. And then when he wanted her to, you know, keep her promise, it was to like play house with him for one night. And so, like, they're, like, cooking and eating and dancing. Like, what it's like a fantasy. It's, like, so weird. But you're like, that was, like, the only thing and then that they have their one night, and then that will lead to a pregnancy, later on. But that was it.
Oh, wow. Very good hit rate.
Yes.
Only in drama land, right? People trying to do IVF, just get into a Chinese drama.
Yeah, exactly. So they had one cute moment, which was kind of coerced on his end, right? She was not like she was like an unwilling participant until she was like in the environment, and then she got like, okay, I guess I like you enough to do this. But then she goes back to like being cold towards him. So, anyways, I would say from a script level, those were the cute parts, and then the rest of it was just torturing your characters, lots of angst, lots of illogical plot setups. So when you ask me how did I continue, I would just say in some ways they did a good job of saying here's a cliffhanger or here's some introduction of the story and I wanted to see how they can possibly top it because you're like this is already so ludicrous. And then they'll throw something else in there and you're like wait, but and at some point I feel like the romance didn't even matter anymore. It just kind of took a back seat because the whole other stuff starts to be more pertinent and there are higher stakes that where the romance does not affect, you know, the political stuff that's happening. So I think if you go in watching this not for the romance, which is I feel like how they marketed it, if you don't care so much about the romance, if you actually pretend there's no romantic storyline, you're just watching people doing things that they feel are the right thing to do to save people, right? There's two storylines. The first act is really about saving people from these human traffickers and you know child abusers, and then the second arc is like saving people from this evil guy who wants to harm people with these pills, and so causing havoc, kind of like opium but worse. So if you're watching it for that reason, they were interesting. But then they would just kind of remind you, oh, by the way, this is still romance. Like, no, don't make it a romance because it's not romantic. Like, I don't want them together. I think he deserves far better. She's obviously, I feel like if she had, there's a 7-year time jump from the moment they played house, and then she got pregnant, and then he went away, and then 7 years later, she has a child and they bump into each other. And he knows that she had a child, but he didn't know he was the father. And I was thinking to myself, like, if he had never returned or she never saw him again, I don't feel like she would miss him. You know, she was just living her life. She had no intention of ever telling him that he was a father. Meanwhile, as soon as he saw her, his heart's fluttering. He's like, oh my God, it's her. And he wants to be with her. And she's just like, get away from me, you know? So I'm like, there's no love lost.
So there's no love story, really. It's a one-sided love story the whole
Yes.
time.
I mean, so, you know, going back to the infectious so these red pills, they cause like an infectious disease near the end. So he catches it and she, you know, nurses him. And I feel like that's the first time she ever did anything for him. Oh yeah, he was supposed to shove her onto like a train because they were getting chased again. And then they showed these flashback sequences of every time that they were in danger, he would shove her into something or close the door. So they show like at least 3 instances where he's just shoving her or closing a door so that she can get away safely. And then there's like that at last she's like she grabs his arm to like grab him onto the train with her, and all the comments are like, finally, she like thought about him other than herself. I feel like he's a very pitiful character, the male lead, and in some ways you're watching it because you kind of hope that he will have a happy ending. By the time you get to the end, you're like, wow, that was quite dramatic. Everything was so dramatic. And to spoil the ending, I feel that I think it's meant to be open ended, but at the end, he has already fought a lot of people. He's bleeding a lot, and they do a what if scenario, like a sequence of like had his brother not died at the wedding, and then he happily married his pilot bride, and then he would run off with the female lead, and they would start their life anew. And if you think back to that moment when it happened, like that would have been impossible because was still in her revenge mode. So I think he died fantasizing of like a happy life that he could have had with her. So yeah, I feel like if you want to watch a guy become like a punching bag, he's like this most saddest character to become a punching bag because he's never a bad person.
So I guess let me ask you this. If you had known that it was this you were stepping into from the get-go, and there was no Zhang Linghe or Wang Shuran in it, would you go into this again?
If they weren't leads that I liked, I probably wouldn't have checked it out, to be quite honest. But because I read the book, I thought the book was okay. I just felt like I want to see how at this point it's more like curiosity, not so much personal investment in the story. It's like how they're going to do this and what are they going to do with it. And I feel like they kind of sprinkled in characters that were likable. Like I said, I like the brother and the pilot, but they weren't really part of the story. They were like side stories. And I actually read their side stories. It was cute. And then the Captain Lee, I thought like they would do something with his character, but then they never really did anything. I think he's technically the second male lead. So yeah, I feel like it was a lot of high expectations, and also like I really liked the second episode. So I wanted more of that, and I didn't get that. Like
Yeah, but you watched it all the way to the end. Like there was no point where you were like, "Oh, I have an epiphany now. That's not going to happen." You hypnotized yourself into keep going. Maybe this thing is the red pill, like you
red
said.
pill.
The whole show is a red pill, according to you, maybe, right? Like it got you to keep going, which is like, huh, interesting.
I want to say like there are things that I liked. Like, okay, if you're gonna watch it for the romance, I will say the male lead is very romantic through and through. Like, if you like that character, and I noticed, and they actually showed it in some of the flashback sequences. So every time his brother was supposed to do something with the wedding planning, somehow like Jung Hill's character shows up. So he actually did. So if you like compile all the little clips, like he actually went through the process of making sure he was like the groom to Rensusu, and so
So hold on. You're watching a version of the show that you stitched together in your own fantasies, basically. You're like looking for crumbs, it sounds like.
Well, I'm saying that's the romantic storyline. But then there's the political intrigue stuff that I thought was interesting. Like I said, with the smuggling and stuff. Like they did it in a very like they drop clues and hints. So you're watching to figure out who's the big bad, because they don't reveal the big bad to you. Anyways, my point is somehow, even though this was like a whole cluster, they got me to finish.
Well, what's your rating?
Okay, it's a 6.1.
Oh, that is not a singing its praises rating.
It's not singing its praises, but it was a show I did not drop. I did go all the way to the end, but I know from the way I watched it and the way that I was not emotionally invested, that at some point I was just like, I just want to see how it ends, and then that's it. Then I'll move on. So, yep, 6.1. Unfortunately, that's where I landed.
I think you had some sort of. I think you had to prove something.
Yeah. And I would love to hear what other people think, like especially people who finished it, because I do know that there are a lot of people who could not finish, and I understand. Like I don't know, why I finished it because I easily could have dropped it. So
If you're gonna ask people, I'm curious. Did you watch it for the intrigue aspect? Or did you actually watch it for the romance?
Okay, I want to say one thing about Overdo. I would think as a show overall, it was a little crazy, but if you don't mind crazy, it's still worth checking out. But don't, like you said, don't expect logic because you're gonna be throwing things at the screen. I would say the acting. I didn't mention this actually when we were talking about the acting to me has improved a lot for the leads. I thought all the actors, not just the leads, all the actors did a really good job acting with the script that they had. But yeah, it's kind of like, is this something I would push for? You just have to watch it with a very, very open mind. So to say about that one.
Guys, don't listen to Elle. She just wants you to suffer because she suffered through it, okay? Don't believe her.
That's right.
Question everything she says, but don't question anything I say. All right. Anyways, next show, as I was saying, is Eating Yao or Royal Betrothal, which is a new costume drama from Mango. Excuse me, I'm losing my voice already, and I didn't even do all the talking. I'm just getting emotional on your behalf, you know. I'm like, oh. Anyways, I did not finish this. I dropped it at episode 10. Elle, you tried to check it out. You didn't make it beyond what? Episode 1? Let me just start with the end, which is I don't think if I had gone to the end of this, I would have given this a 6.1, and yet I still dropped it.
You mean you would have given it a higher rating?
Oh yeah, I would have.
But you still dropped it.
Yeah.
Mm.
So let's talk about the show in case you haven't watched it. It stars, as I said at the beginning of the podcast, it stars Wu Jingyan and Chen Jian, two actors that have starred in shows we like. She of the Double fame, he of more recently Faded Hearts for us. Two pretty wild, crazy shows, but both very enjoyable for us. The show's story, as far as where I got to, is about her as a border town woman or girl. I guess technically she's a girl who wants to become an official now that the imperial exams are open to women, thanks to the graces of the new young emperor that came to power. But then she has to overcome a lot of challenges and villains that are always in her way, and crosses paths with the young emperor who is secretly traveling in disguise, trying to ferret out corruption and clean up the court. So, on paper, it sounds like there should be plenty there, right? And initially, I actually found the first 4 or 5 episodes okay, entertaining. I mean, there was kind of ludicrous scenarios as usual, but you know, you forgive that, right? If the show is meant to be ludicrous in some ways. I mean, come on, you watch the Double, you don't think like the shovel to the head. Remember, we started with a shovel to the head. That wasn't ludicrous. Or Faded Hearts, where, again, you know, he got buried for probably like 10, 15 minutes, if not longer. There's no way he wasn't brain dead, if not dead. Yeah. But anyways, that's not the point. We're not here to gripe about that. You forgive those because they were super entertaining. Well, as I'm watching the show, at first I'm like, oh, it's okay, you know. And then I start wondering, like, what is the show really trying to do? Because I could not ever pinpoint, just like you could not pinpoint with Overdo. I'm like, what is the theme of the show? Is it a court intrigue? Is it a women's lib show? Is it a romance? Not that any of those are like mutually exclusive, but the way the show presented it, it wasn't clear what it wanted to be. And then it ended up being kind of like none of it. As a political thriller, it wasn't very thrilling. As an adventure, they weren't adventuring much. Things would just conveniently happen and get wrapped up. You're like, okay, well, at least we got to see kind of the denouement of that, but it wasn't super satisfying like in the Double. In the romance, what romance? As far as I got, which is 10 out of what, 30-something episodes, by then you should have an inkling of something. And now it was hinted he at least had feelings, maybe not romantic, but some sort of possessiveness towards her.
Not romantic.
I couldn't tell, okay? That's the problem, right? When you can't tell if it's really romantic or not, or like you're like, okay, it should be romantic, but there was no foundation for it, right? Then you question, like, is it romantic? Where did it come from? Like, when you watch that type of romance on screen, your brain should not be going, where did that come from? Like, if you start questioning any of that, it's already failed in its mission.
Yeah.
And it was really super slow to get to the romance, so I was like, it's never gonna get there. Like, it'd be like episode 30 when it happens, you know? So that's why I dropped it. Well, let me tell you exactly why. There was one more thing that was really kind of the thing that sunk the whole ship, okay? Which is I couldn't ship. Speaking of ship, I couldn't ship the main CP. It's not even that they have bad chemistry. It was mismatched energy. So this is where I'm going to defer to you because you said something that I think is relevant to this because you only watched one episode and you said something about her. Not the actress, but the
Oh.
kind of how she is in that role.
Yeah, I said, because I've seen her in The Double and also like 2 episodes of was it Kill Me, Love Me, Kill
Yeah.
Me? The one with Lucia, right? So I would say I was saying that I feel like she's being typecast or she typecasted herself and she's still I feel like she's an older woman. She's in her mid-30s. I feel like she's too mature to play sort of this wide-eyed maiden, trying to enter college. I think it's like, their version of college. And I just think and she, she has to be super strong and but still like sort of duplicitous and wily and outsmart everybody. And I like those characters that she played in the past. I just feel like when as soon as I started the first episode, I'm like, "Oh, it's that again." Like, I know she's famous for some other roles, but I've just never seen her play a different type of character, and I think that kind of energy, like, that type of character for the age range, I just feel like it didn't fit her anymore. Like, it's sort of maturity that comes with, from experience, life experiences, and I just don't think she has that youthfulness that you want
Mm-hmm.
for playing that kind of character. And I didn't know that, the male lead is the emperor, right? He just kinda shows up and he's like, "Whoa, why do you have a sword from the Imperial Army?" And I was like, "Oh, that's interesting." And I was like, "Maybe I'll watch episode 2." But then it was, like, so unmemorable that I didn't have time. I was, deep in overdue, so I didn't have time to go back and, like, revisit it. And I feel like it didn't draw me in to even care to get to episode 2. I mean, I'm impressed you got to episode 10 because like you said, I understand what you mean by the mismatched energy. They felt like brother and sister vibes, like, she could play his older sister is how
Yes.
I felt. Like, if you
Yes.
had told me, like, "Oh, she's gonna be, like, the love of his life," like, I didn't feel that. Like, there was not that kind of, like, sizzle at all.
Right. So this is what I mean that there was not I couldn't ship the CP. It's not even about whether they had chemistry now. And it's not an age issue because in real life there's a quite an age gap between them. They've both been with other people with that kind of reverse age gap, and it was not a problem before. She with Wang Xingyue, and that was beautiful.
Mhm,
And he with Li Qing.
mhm.
Li Qing, who is actually slightly older than her, by the way. Even a greater age gap, and that was beautiful in Faded Hearts. Here, I was like, oh, you guys should just remain friends. Never have I actually watched a show where like, yeah, you guys are better, like you said, as friends or brother and sister. Let's not have a romance. Just like you said about Overdo. Actually, there's quite a few parallels.
Yeah.
So going back to the other parallel, you had mentioned about Overdo. You're like, if you just didn't watch it as a romance, it might be okay. And they're interesting side characters. That's what I can say about this show. Because there's a vacuum at the middle of the show because of the lack of a shippable CP for me. And because it has no identity, like it was basically like, I have all these ingredients, but there's no strong identity. Again, with Overdo. Well, Overdo maybe was trying to strongly identify with too much.
Trying to be everything.
With this one, I was like, I found myself caring more about the side characters,
Mm.
which is interesting and also problematic again, because then you're watching for the in between moments. There's actually some interesting romance going on with the second couple. And then the guy, so you only watch episode 1, but the guy who played her ex-husband in The Double is in the show too.
Oh.
And I know from watching clips online that there's a whole side story later where she's actually a foreign princess, it turns out, but her kingdom was destroyed, and the other guy is also from that kingdom, so they were supposed to be together or something. But I didn't get that far. I don't really care. The point is, when he first shows up,
Oh, is that why they were being chased in the beginning?
no, that
Were
was
they running away? Oh.
child smugglers. Was very brutal.
Oh, okay.
Turns out the prince, well, the emperor as a prince saved her. She didn't know until later.
Oh, it's like Overdo. It's like, oh, they met as children,
Exactly.
and one saved the other.
The parallels are all there. They all use the same AI script writing program. They just
I
said,
didn't even mention that.
They just said to put a different era skin on top, same treatment. Yeah,
Okay.
so what was I saying? Oh, the side characters. I like the side characters more, which is a problem. I even started wondering about the so-called initial cardboard villain, who I think is not really a villain. You'll learn later. I'm like, oh, I wonder what the left minister is really like. Like, why is he like that? Blah, blah, blah. But like, I should not be wondering about the left minister. Okay. Like,
Unless he's the main character.
exactly. It's just so random. And then there are all these random scenes they'll set up. You're like, what was that part? So here's an example. You're watching it, suddenly he and all his friends or courtiers are in a giant bath together. You're like, oh, is this like they're all naked torso wise, right? But they're like sitting far apart,
Yeah.
and then he's like, why are you all sitting far apart? Why is this so awkward? Blah blah blah. I'm like, okay, what was the point of that, right? Was it like a cheesecake moment? Because as a cheesecake moment, it wasn't happy-go-lucky and sexy enough. And second, it's not really showing me any brotherly love or camaraderie, right? Like these are his besties, but yet they're like social distancing from the Empress. So what was the point of this scene again? To show off his big bathtub? Like, I don't understand. I thought was like, why are these guys randomly soaking in a bath? And there's comedy moments too, which I really like. And they happen though, again, in ensemble moments. Those are actually kind of cute moments if you actually cared about the main romance. But because there's no main romance and you can't anchor that on the side romance, why should I go on?
Did you at least land on a note where it could have been like more, or you feel like it just plateaued and it wasn't gonna go anywhere?
I think I'm on the cusp of where the plot, like she's about to find out. I think he is the one who saved her, and maybe there'll be more. But to use the word you use, it was so not memorable that I didn't feel the need to keep going. It's a mediocre show, is all I can say. And sometimes mediocre is almost worse than erratically bad.
Right. Because if you care about viewership or eyeballs, right? Like, can you sustain eyeballs on it?
Yes. So, last show, which, like I said before, accidentally came upon this, The Shadow Sovereign. It is a 18 episode long form drama, but because it's from Billy, which doesn't always put out these shows, the episodes are only like 20 to 30 minutes long. So I consider it in the same genre as like the shorter web dramas. But I think the production values on this are pretty high. Like you watched the 4 episodes you mentioned, and so
I'm almost halfway on the 4th episode. I mean, I would say coming off of Overdo, it's like it's so easy to watch because the story is
so straightforward.
it's pretty straightforward. It's not like mystery intrigue in the sense of like, oh, we're gonna keep the viewer on their toes, to find out what's gonna happen. It's more like they tell you what the main characters, what their goals are, and then they're gonna work together towards the goal. And then you're like, oh, and then you're just sort of like watching how they just, learn about each other, which is what you want in romance, right?
Yeah. Hold on. The premise before we go on.
Oh,
There
yeah,
is
yeah,
a premise to
yeah.
this show, which is, I believe, based on a novel that I have not read. It's basically a scholar has a one-night stand with a princess, and 3 months later, he becomes a court official, and they go at it again. And she basically says, you gotta be my my lover. And he's like, why? She's like, because you have to, and that's pretty much it. I mean, there's actually politics here because I did finish it and I was like,
Right.
oh, there's more politics to it. I almost wish for this one, the inverse of what you said about Overdo, I almost wish they emphasized the romance more. The visuals are very good in the show. I think they did a very good job with casting it and also the costuming. The OST is great. I think there's only like 4 songs, but they're good songs for the show. You only need like 2 or 3 solid songs,
Yeah.
And then the story is pretty salacious, right? If you think about it, even in the 4 episodes you had.
Yes.
Oh, so if you care about, kissy, this show will give you kissy in the first 2 episodes.
I don't remember them kissing.
What are you talking about? He sleeps with her the first episode
Oh,
and the
yeah,
second
no, you're
episode.
right. Yeah. Second episode. Sorry, I was still remembering the first scene where she fell asleep on him and then he covered her with his sleeves and I was like, "Oh, that's so cute."
Yes. So the show starts off kind of with like, oh, it's going to become a salacious vertical. And it isn't actually. After episode 2, it doesn't become salacious, but it actually becomes cuter because he's always sneaking in and out to like, he's like, I'm a man of my word. He's like, my dad taught me to be a man of my word. So I said I
Yeah.
would be her
Yeah,
lover
so
and go sleep with her every night. So I have to show up. Right? I'm like, really? This is where your moral standards are? Like, this show is funny. If you read between the
yeah.
lines and what's happening and the scenarios that are happening, you're like, this is funny. And just enough of humor delivered, not too on the nose that you're just like, oh, okay. Like there's scenes later where like he shows up and she's like, oh yeah, let's go to bed. And then he starts taking his clothes off. And she's like, what are you doing? He's like, you said go to bed. She's like, yes, go to bed. You don't have to take your clothes off. And he's like completely bewildered. And it turns out she's like, when I say 睡觉, like I want to sleep. So one of the things they already set up, right, in the episode 1 is that she can't sleep very well because she had a harsh childhood and she has nightmares. For some reason, his body chemistry works for her, obviously, because it's attraction. So then she sleeps well when he's around. So she uses him in that scenario as a body pillow. So from there on, they don't show you like kissy, kissy, sexy, honey scenes because the implication is that every night they're not doing it. She's just like hugging him like a body pillow so she can have a good night's sleep. This is kind of funny and sweet at the same time. And then other aspects of the story has a promise of a pretty interesting plot if it was explored more, like further developed in a longer format. She has a husband who then becomes an ex-husband. There's acrimony between them. They've been together for more than 10 years. But what you learn is that, and they show you this in the show, he does love her in his own way.
Really?
Yes. He's always protective of her and he's super jealous. So that's a love triangle, right? If they explored it more. There's so many angles. In that respect, I think the story has the elements, and maybe that was all there in the original novel to make it a really juicy story. And they tease it just enough to give you, like, to whet your appetite. I kind of wish they had more luxury to develop it more. And I think if they did, I would have been fine if they kept the same cast because the casting, I think, is suitable for this show.
Yeah.
So I had said I didn't even expect to watch this show, and I accidentally watched it. And the only reason I accidentally watched it was I saw that it starred Li Hongyi and Snow Kong. She I only know from Pursuit of Jade, but she's very pretty. And to me, I think she's a passable actress, especially for this role.
Yeah. She sort of plays like a strong, smart, just like a smart person who doesn't take any kind of bullying or she stands up, she stands up for herself. And she's like a very admirable kind of princess character. I don't know the male lead from anything else. This is my first time watching him. I think he's fine playing the scholar. And yeah, it's kind of funny how he's like, he's like, I don't know what's going on, but I'll do whatever she asks.
He goes along
Like,
with it, right?
yeah, he goes along with it.
So I've watched him in Blood of Youth. He was the main character.
Oh, okay.
The other reason, he catches my attention is because he always looks like Chen Yi mixed with Bai Jingting with a little bit of Liu Yining. Like, it's like the three of them had a baby, and there would be Li Hongyi. I don't think of him as a great actor. He always has such a stone-faced mien to him. But I think that for some reason, it works in the roles I've seen him in, both in The Blood of Youth, where he plays Prince Xiaose, and here. Like you said, he's kind of like going with the flow. Like that's the whole impression. He's not the most expressive person in this show, but that's the whole point. He's kind of just like, yeah, okay, I guess I can live with this. Oh, she's cute, like, yeah. I'm kind of bemused, like that, right? He has that detached bemusement to him.
Yeah. It's kind of like if they were in modern like setting, she'd be like the popular girl that goes
Yes.
after like the school nerd.
Yes.
Like not like nerd in a bad way, just like the top student who's like really like book smart academic and not into girls, and then she's the girl going, hey, over here.
Exactly. That's exactly the dynamic.
Mhm.
And, so That's why I kept watching. I'm like, oh, there's all of these things, and it's a very straightforward story. And it's not that silly. Now, it can sell itself as silly, and you would be fine because the politics are silly, okay? They don't try to pretend it's
Yeah.
anything else. But at the same time, it's not completely stupid. It was refreshing for me that it will try to explain certain things that are ridiculous in the moment. As with every show like this, they fall off a cliff or jump off a cliff, and they don't die. And so you're like, oh no, not again. They're gonna fall or jump off a cliff, and he has an arrow stuck in his back, and nobody died. Well, you know what? The minute they go to them at the end, at the bottom of the cliff, she actually says, "Well, good thing I took that gamble because I had seen all these vines growing around the cliff." She just was like, "Well, certain death
Oh.
with an arrow, or we're gonna plunge over the cliff and just maybe, because there's so many shrubs here, we'll
Mm.
be okay." So there's a lot of that where things happen. You're like, "Oh, that's so stupid, such a illogical drama trope, right? Very convenient." And then they go explain it. You're like, "Oh, okay, I get it. That's why it happened that way." And because it's a shorter drama, the explanation comes very fast. Like,
Yeah.
right? So you remember what they're trying to explain away, and you're just like, oh, okay. Thank you, script, for not being stupid or not treating us like stupid. So yeah, I appreciate that. But really, I'm watching it for the visuals and the pretty passable acting. I feel like the actors have potential if there was even longer drama to develop all of their characters and develop the story that way. And then if you watch this with English subtitles on YouTube, did you see the names?
I was like, is this like a Victorian
Exactly.
romance? Like the House of Beaumont?
Her name is Aurora Ashford, and his name is Adrian
Yeah.
Hale, and then her husband's name is like Julian Beaumont. There's like a Miss Sophia Bennett. I'm like, what is this? Pride and Prejudice? Amelia Hart.
I was so confused at first. I was like, what's Aurora? I'm like, Adrian. And I was like, oh, these are their names.
Yes. If you just use the English translation of their names, put that into AI script writing and be like, give me a script treatment using these names. Set it in a name appropriate setting, it'd be like a medieval fantasy, high fantasy with elves. But anyways, I will not belabor this. All I can say is I watched it. It was an easy watch. It was very manageable time investment. I enjoyed all the tropes. It was attractive. I wish actually this had more to it. Right? Where it's like the one time
Mm.
when like, oh, I wish there was a longer show. Maybe not longer, but more developed. And what did I say to you? I did text you. I said, thank goodness for a normal show.
Yeah.
This is not the show I expected to be normal and easy to watch. And yet, of the three we talked about today, I think this one is the most straightforward and normal in a good way.
It's more like the classic script writing, right?
Yeah.
That you kind of expect from a drama maybe a few years ago. I feel like nowadays they just always want to do something so spectacular and different, and then it goes literally overboard. Like it's like you don't have to go so crazy, Like as long as we feel the feelings for the characters, that's all you need. Like you don't need to put in like so many extraneous things just to make it memorable, because then it doesn't become memorable. Like there's nothing memorable if there's like 100 fireworks going off the whole time for the duration of a drama.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was gonna say, yeah, right after Overdue, this was like, oh, like I can breathe a little bit. I can slow down and appreciate, characters that are just sort of not whimsical, but spunky. I think they're spunky characters that are immediately likable. Yeah, I'll probably keep watching it. It's short, so
It's a good palate cleanser. If you're looking for a easy to digest, very simple, no brain gymnastics costume drama with not a lot of depth, okay? I'm just forewarn you with that. This is a pretty watchable show, especially if you like either of the actors. Actually, I forgot to give a rating since I did
oh
finish
yeah, since
Shadows.
you
Yeah,
finished
Shadow
it. Mhm.
Sovereign. Honestly, objectively speaking, it's probably like a 7.8. But because it was such a normal, enjoyable show, I was like, I can enjoy this with peace, and happiness. I give it an 8.2.
What? Okay.
Yeah. For what it
Mhm.
is, right? Not compared to 8.2 in a completely different platform, long form drama. Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's where my ratings land. Okay.
The next one I watch has to be simpler. It can't be like this. My heart can't take it. My brain can't take it either.
Yeah, I'm ready for something completely different and something easier. Honestly, I think, like you said, C dramas can't overcomplicate. They're trying too hard. I mean, it's a problem we've come across in many, many shows we talked about. Like, they're trying to be something they're not. I'm like, dude, all we ask for is something that is enjoyable.
Yeah.
Old fashioned is okay. Really,
Yeah.
it's okay.
Mhm.
All right. With that, then, until next time,
Bye.
bye.